a few days ago in response to an action that you staged as part of this campaign. You were fired. I am
That's right.
sorry, but also good riddance, but also fuck. So
Yeah.
explain explain what happened. What happened on April 16th?
Yeah, well, first off, my thoughts exactly. I went through the same like mental sequence. So yeah, April 16th, after probably months of Google building a culture of internal silencing, harassment, doxing, and just hatred toward people speaking out against our military contract with the Zionist regime, we decided to stage an action, basically bringing the protest against that to the office. And I want to clarify, the reason why we took the protest to the office is purely because for the past 3 months of 6 months of us experiencing this kind of vitriol at work, we've tried every way of engaging with executives and leadership, whether it's petitions, internal discussion forums, and every step of the way we were just silenced and told basically to shut up. So by April 16th, many of us decided that, it's either us or the contracts. We don't want to be complicit in genocide anymore. 9 of us ended up getting arrested and because we refused to comply with security's asks of us to, evacuate the premises. But
Wait,
50 people
I
now
have a
got
quick
fired.
question.
So yeah.
Were the other 8 people who got arrested as handsome as you, Mohammed?
Yeah, definitely. I'm easily the least attractive one out of the Nimbus 9. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry. I take no responsibility for my other guests sexually
No.
harassing my other guests, but very relevant.
No offense taken.
I love this is just like turned into the View interview. Like,
Yeah.
were all of them as attractive as you,
Yeah.
Mohammed, getting arrested?
So tell me about
Significantly more.
Tell me about your skincare routine when protesting genocide.
It goes hand in hand. Yeah.
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 Okay,
I
so
mean, yeah.
and these were across 2 different cities, right? I remember in Sunnyvale at the offices of who now from Google? Their CEO.
Yeah, Thomas Kurian, they call him TK. So some of them staged a sit-in in his office and refused to leave. 4 of us in New York staged a sit-in on the 10th floor Commons, refused to leave. But I think the thing that's really important to remember is that like out of the 50 people that were fired, only 9 of us were actually involved in that sit-in. So we're talking about blatant illegal retaliation from a tech giant that's basically just lashing out. And trying to silence as much as possible in the wake of our protest.
Right.
It's just astounding. Yeah.
And this day of action was called No Tech for Genocide, but the campaign is No Tech for Apartheid. And it's been going on for years. I mean, this is one of those campaigns that, speaking of when you start the clock, had been speaking about occupation for many, many years now. So tell me about No Tech for Apartheid and maybe Project Nimbus in relation to that.
Totally, yeah. So we've been at it for 3 years. I think, I'll start with Project Nimbus because I think it'll sort of illuminate why we started the campaign. So Project Nimbus is basically a $1.2 billion cloud computing contract with the Israeli government. That sounds sort of mystified, but essentially what it means is cloud computing is just the provision of computing services remotely over the internet. And the idea behind Project Nimbus is that we want to build a vast server farm or server center, but within the borders of occupied Palestine. And they want us to basically turn over security and management of this data center to the Israeli government, a government that's currently being investigated for the crime of genocide. So it's analogous to if a serial killer comes up to you and says like, hey, like build me a gun. I might go hunting with it. I might also go target practice with it. But like we all know he's going to kill people with it, right? So that's
is
sort of
the
the
data
premise behind it.
center for tracking Palestinians, or what is that data center for?
Yeah, so there's another thing that's important to understand is like data centers, any machine learning project that you set up can be set up in like a number of different ways, and you can use machine learning to do a vast amount of things. So this has been sort of Google's defense. They've been saying like, oh, like they can use these data centers to service any sort of project. But we know, leading up to this point, we're talking about an apartheid entity that literally in the West Bank, you're talking about two groups of people living under entirely different systems of law. Palestinians under military law, Israeli settlers under civilian law, just full stop an apartheid state. And you're asking us to give you the plug and play tools to build whatever technology you want, train whatever models you want. And we know it's likely going to be tools to surveil Palestinians, as they've been doing in the West Bank for decades now. We know it's going to be likely computer vision tools that they've been using to identify Palestinians for decades now. It's like, and recently, like 3 weeks ago, Time magazine basically had this breakout story where they found that Google had been sending invoices to the defense ministry. So we know that point blank, they're dealing directly with the defense ministry. They're giving them free rein to use our technology. And we don't need to really like put two and two together to understand that they're clearly going to be using it to surveil, kill, murder, and destroy like Palestinians, basically.
So, and you're saying that the Israeli government's position is like, who's to say we could be using it for surveilling Palestinians, or we could be using it to build a better Gal Gadot?
Exactly.
It could go
No,
either
literally
way.
that. It is literally as silly as that. It's literally just like, you have no idea we haven't told you what we're going to be using it for. Okay, but you're under investigation for genocide. No, but we didn't tell you. Oh, but you're universally infamous for being an apartheid state. You put people under different codes of law. Look up mixed cities. Like, you are universally renowned for being an apartheid state. No, but we could be just doing anything with it. You don't even know. So
what I think is fun about this, is every time, before, I think there's different lines of propaganda, but when you criticize Israel, you're like, oh yeah, you don't like Israel? Throw away your iPhone. Because Israel does all the tech. And it's like, do they? Because it sounds like you're contracting with a bunch of American workers here.
Yeah. And it's funny too that I'm so sorry, go ahead.
No, keep going.
I was just going to say really quickly, if you explained this to like 90% of the workers internally, if I just sat down and explained exactly what I'm explaining to you, 90% of the workers internally, they would 100% be like, this is unprecedented. Like, we've never done this for any foreign government. Why are we doing this right now? It's just that there's a loud group of people that will harass you, dox you, and attack you for speaking out. And that's one of the big reasons, that is one of the central reasons why we staged this action, is to protect the people that are speaking out against this, the dissenters that are speaking out against this. So
can you talk about like the what it was like organizing your coworkers around this? Like, how people came around, like were like, did you run into a lot of opposition? Did you see people, did you see people's views really evolve over time?
Yeah, there's that chant that we always hear at the protests, that the more they try to silence us, the louder we will be. And like I think about that all the time, because literally at every turn that they've tried to like shut us up, we've gotten messages from workers that are saying like, oh my God, like, I didn't know this was happening. How can I get involved in supporting this campaign and like making sure that my tech isn't being used for genocide? That's really big. Like, every time they have a history of deception and retaliation. That's like one of the things that Google is known for. They portray, oh, we're such a nice company, and then they just retaliate and abuse their workers. So when that happens, we always get messages from people being like, oh my God, I saw your question. I saw it got deleted. I saw that you were completely silenced. Like, how can I also be involved in supporting you? And when we had the action, almost like the majority of people that came up to us were like, I really support what you're doing. I really appreciate that you're standing up to the company. We only had like a few people that were, the same people that had been stalking us and harassing us for years now, or for months now, basically following us around, but for broad support,
I mean, I think it's, you guys did, I mean, this is a massive risk. I mean, you're young. I think some of the other people who I've seen interviewed are young, and Google is a good job, right? I mean, and you are putting so much on the line to take this stance, and there are surely people who are also workers who are silent about it, but support you in spirit. But I've seen it posed, and I think to Nato's point, as really a labor issue, that this is about worker power. So, remind everyone about Google's labor union status. There isn't one, there is one. What does the organizing look like there?
Yeah, I mean, there is a labor union. It's not very strong just because, um, frankly, the culture that Google has fostered is one where
Sure,
it's
they're like,
like,
"We give you
can you
haircuts."
speak up? Yeah, we give you massages, we give you like food. Like you don't want to join like a union. You don't want to
Yeah,
risk. You don't want to risk it all. Like that kind
right.
of thing. So that's kind of how they deter people from union membership. Um, and yeah, I mean, the company as a whole, it's like the golden handcuffs analogy. It's like
Yeah.
you should stay, like you don't want to speak out. And I think they're underestimating like how workers, you know, deal with ethical issues. And I think they're also underestimating just like the conscience of smart people. You have the smartest people, like some of the smartest people in the world, like working there. And they're really underestimating how much we care about our work being used for good. Like every engineer wants to think that their work is having a positive impact on the planet. So it's
Mm,
just bizarre to me that they really think that they can like silence us by telling us, oh, like have some cake, literally, or like ride the scooter. Like what?
right.
Like yeah.
And there was nobody was like, hey guys, what if we program the machine learning tool to be like, IDF, what if you just stopped and left?
No, I
Like,
mean, see, it's crazy you say that because, like, totally, that's a genius idea. But it's like, since we're turning over security and management of all our, like, the data center that we would be building in occupied Palestine to them, it's like we have no jurisdiction over it. So,
Right.
saboteur would have been a great way to stop a genocide. But it's like we're relinquishing jurisdiction over that localized data center in occupied Palestine. So,
I just
yeah,
wanna just underscore how much, when people say this is like a, robot or AI genocide, it truly is, and some of the
yeah,
stories we're hearing, again, from the IDF saying that they're operating AI programs that
yeah,
target people once they reach their homes, killing 30, 40, 50, 100 people in order to get
yeah,
one suspected militant. That's
yeah,
not sitting well with the literal IDF. Um, then you have these reports of drones that are, and someone has to program these drones to have the sounds of children screaming or crying
yeah,
that lures people out and then targets them when they've been lured out. We're also at a time, Mohammed, where we're being told that TikTok is an agent of the Chinese government,
sure,
and
yeah,
yet we don't see the ways that, yes, that Google and other tech companies are throwing down with Israel's genocide. I mean, this would be like
100%.
if you were asked, "Hey, we're building a data center in I apologize, but like in a Uyghur camp in China, in
Yeah,
Western China,
yeah.
and say it's business, 1.2 billion." Never in a fucking million years. And shit, man, maybe Meta's already done it. I don't know, but like
Mm,
that's so clearly not something that Google would touch, right? Like that's so
yeah,
clearly not something that they would want on their brand.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so there is really no difference here.
yeah. It's a selective sort of outlook on these crises, and a selective outlook on like the value of life, and like what companies are willing to put on the line, because the climate happens to be, hey, money is where Israel is, and we'll support you no matter what. It's like, yeah, screw it, we'll go all in on this. And yeah, like the climate right now is so similar to how it was whenever No Tech for Apartheid first started, because it's like the same way, Israel had been responsible for ethnic cleansing and apartheid and genocide at the time. It's like all these reports of lavender AI, and like how Israel is using AI and computer vision to detect and murder Palestinians. That in the context of us providing this technology to them, it's like there you need to have like one iota of like intelligence to be like, okay, I can connect the dots here. I
Yeah.
know that if they're using technology to kill people and I'm selling them my technology, and I'm relinquishing all management and security over it, it's just crazy. It's
And
crazy
it's
how they're
not like
doing.
it's a small company that like, "Oh,
No,
if they lose this contract, what will become of them?"
it's minuscule in comparison to what they make, right? So it's just crazy.
So
Yeah.
where do you see this going? What's been the reaction to your firing and others? What's your next move? I mean, are you guys
Yeah.
lawyering up? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, right now, frankly, the way and like the violent nature of the retaliation that has affected like over 50 workers, I think a lot of us are sort of processing the aftermath. I certainly was prepared to go. For me, it's the contracts for me. Like I have no business wasting my talent on killing people. I'd much certainly, rather go somewhere else. So if they were willing to drop the contracts, I'd be happy to stay, but otherwise, no thanks. But I think for a lot of people, this was not the expectation. A lot of people literally just passed by and lost their entire livelihood as a result. So I think a lot of us trying to process that right now. But main thing is we're certainly not stopping organizing. We're certainly not going to stop until the contracts are dropped. And Google, we're coming for you regardless. So
I want to report that recently on my phone, Facebook and Instagram Messenger have offered me a Meta AI function. And so it said that I could ask Meta AI anything. And so I asked Meta AI, how do we free Palestine? And got a 7-paragraph answer from Meta AI that, among other things, recommended that I join the PLO. So
fascinating. That's very fascinating. Oh man.
I feel like Netanyahu would be cool with that. Like, I feel like that's definitely a Zionist answer. Join the PLO.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, that means it might be anti-Semitic though, so you better watch out. So
yeah, indeed. Well, Mohammed, thank you so much for coming on and for being so open and with us about everything that's going on. And thanks for your organizing. And we will follow up. And how can we support? Like, what can people do?
The best thing you guys can do is just share as much as possible, raise awareness about Project Nimbus, about Google's complicity in the genocide, and most importantly, center the genocide in Gaza. Don't forget why we're doing this. All this organizing on university campuses and Google everywhere is for the stories of the martyrs in Gaza. So please don't stop sharing that, but also raise awareness about No Tech for Apartheid, raise awareness about Google and Amazon's complicity, and just make sure people know about it. That's the best thing we can do right now.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.